like you said, there's a lot to talk about, but we're going to start on the positive, which is Alexander Mogilny. After 17 years of eligibility, is finally a Hall of Famer. Walt wanted to get your response to that.
Definitely cool to see Mogilny in the Hall of Fame. I obviously never watched him play before, so that was before my time. But my dad always tells stories about that season where he scored all those goals, and he was a part of a very fun era, Sabres hockey with Pat LaFontaine. And with his statistics, he was kind of right on the edge of getting into the Hall of Fame. But I think when you factor in just all the other stuff, like defecting from the Soviet Union and coming over to the NHL and kind of paving the way for so many Russian stars to come to the league in those seasons. I think if you factor all that, I think he's an important piece of the history of hockey. So I think he's more than deserving to be in the Hall of Fame, and it's cool to see him finally get into the Hall of Fame. Like 16 years later. So it's nice to see.
Yeah, better late than never for sure. And that big season where he had 76 goals in 77 games was 92-93, as you can see pulled up on the screen here. But for anyone that's just listening audio wise, 77 games, 76 goals, which is just crazy. 51 assists for 127 points. And like you said, just with all of the other things that went along with Mogilny playing in the NHL, plus his productivity. He was over a point per game player, almost played 1,000 games, obviously had over 1,000 points. So, yeah, I definitely think he was deserving. And I think just like the gravity of it, I didn't fully understand the whole Mogilny thing. I knew there was, like a really good Russian player that used to play for the Sabres, but until I grew up a little bit, I didn't really understand the situation. So the one thing that really stuck out to me was one, and I tweeted about this, check out the documentary that Sportsnet did on that, where they interviewed um, Meehan, Luce, a bunch of other people that were involved with the defection that happened when they were over in Sweden. The one thing that really stuck with me was that Mogilny was considered an officer in the army. Yes, he was like a really good player, but all of those guys were officers. They were part of the army. It was like the Red Army hockey team. And some people might already know this, so apologies. But for anyone that didn't know, like these weren't just like it wasn't just a hockey player that wanted to just leave Russia and go somewhere else. This was the on the same level of someone deserting the army, an officer deserting the army. That's how the Soviets saw it, and we all kind of know how they handle those kinds of things, or any army or nation or whatever handles those kinds of things. So, along with being an incredible hockey player and just being so fast and shifty and just all the stuff that he had to go through off the ice as well, because just because he was able to get to the United States doesn't mean his worries were over. So, definitely deserving. Like I said, better late than never, and super happy for him. And hopefully, that all kind of puts it to bed. And I think that's pretty much it when it comes to Mogilny. I don't really want to speak about too much about the type of player he is, but as you can see on the screen here, he was constantly putting up points, and it is kind of funny that he ended his career with the Albany River Rats. I just found that to be an interesting little tidbit of information. So, anything on Mogilny before we move on to all the other aspects of the Sabres week?
Just a fun hockey career, and I loved using him in NHL 06 when I was younger too. So I guess that's how I remember Mogilny. I kind of remember him as a Leaf in NHL 06.
All right, well there you have it.